It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Sprouse answer. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! Did he get it?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on in to a Monday edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan, also streaming on 1069thefan.com and the 1069 The Fan mobile app. Lots of different ways to follow along, and always invite you to be a part of the show as well. Full Court Press text line is open, 435-339-0321. A couple of texts came through over the weekend, so we'll get to those and before the show began. So you're always welcome to chime in whenever the thought comes in your mind to fire off a text, and once next time we're on the air, we'll get to it. But recapping the weekend that was, focusing certainly on Utah State and the Mountain West Conference. Utah Jazz were in action, certainly more competitive in their last few games, but showing that still kind of a young team that doesn't know how to play in tight minutes very well just yet. But we'll discuss that. And then could there be a change in how the Mountain West Conference distributes its money that comes in from NCAA tournament? There's an interesting article in San Diego on this topic, and we'll get into that and what that might mean for schools like Utah State. So a lot of different things to cover today here in the Full Court Press. But let's start with Utah State. The Aggies pick up another win in conference play, and it has been the case the last little while. The Aggies win, and they drop in the net. But that's just the way it's going for Utah State, but still on top of the Mountain West Conference standings.
Yeah, I almost had half a mind, in doing my weekly Mountain West Watch articles, to have the Aggies. I have a section where I have the biggest risers and the biggest fallers, and I had half a mind to put the Aggies in the fallers section, because I was like, they keep falling, like in computer ranks, people's regard, like they don't see the Aggies as high up as they used to, because they're kind of having these meh games against teams at the bottom of the standings. I mean, even at home, you watch teams like Boise State, they're routing these teams, Air Force and Fresno and Wyoming by 20, 30, almost borderline 40 points. The Aggies, beat them by like 12. Okay, could be better, could be a lot worse.
Or it took an overtime.
Yeah, it took to overtime with Fresno State. So they're not looking nearly as good as they did against, say, a San Diego State or both the Boise games. The Aggies just don't seem to be getting up for these games against lower teams. They're going to, face that situation again. Are they going to be on upset alert when they go to San Jose State? And then, obviously, we'll see if the Aggies light a fire under themselves when they once again play a key game as they face New Mexico to finish off the season. Senior night, and obviously a big game. If Utah State wins either game this week, then that almost guarantees them a share of the Mountain West title. Depending on what Boise State does. If Boise State loses either game, I mean, that's the case for Boise State and Utah State. We can go into this maybe a little later, but Utah State and Boise State, if they both go 2-0, they share the title. If they both go 1-1, both of them will have a guaranteed share. Maybe there's other teams honing in, and there could be like 4 or 5. I need to go through to see if there's a possibility for there to be like a 5-way tie for first place. I should have tried to calculate that. Because I tried to calculate every single conference title scenario for every team that still has a mathematical chance. But I didn't really go out and see like how many different title scenarios, like in shared and all that. It's like, what does this team have to do to get a share, and just leave it at that? But I don't know how many different, like 2, 3, 4, 5-way ties. Heaven knows.
Well, one game separates the top 5 teams.
Yeah.
One.
Just one. So like I said, there are 5 teams that as of now have a mathematical chance to win the title not only outright, or I should say not only a share of it, but 5 have a chance to win it outright. All of them, no matter how unlikely the scenario, could win it outright, and all of them have at least a decent chance of getting a share of the title.
Yeah, so Utah State cannot let off. I mean, there's 4 teams staring at them, breathing down their neck to eagerly replace them on top of the standings.
And the funny thing is that Utah State's games have very little to do with the other because the 5 teams, so it's Utah State, Boise State, San Diego State, Nevada, UNLV. The other 4 are all playing each other. So, like, there's this giant interconnecting web of this team losing in this scenario. Utah State's just off in its own world playing San Jose State and New Mexico. They can do whatever, 0-2, 2-0, and it doesn't affect, at least directly, any of the other 4 teams. And that's what made the title scenarios harder to calculate. Because, well, if this team beats this team, then this team can't go better than 1-1. It just gets really...
Right, because we know the tiebreaker scenarios between Utah State and Boise State for number 1, but you've got 3 teams tied right now, 11-5 conference records. So you have to go pretty deep on how the Mountain West Conference will determine its seeding for the conference tournament next week.
Yeah, and that's something that I didn't really go to in my article. Like, I'm not going into seeding. It's just, here's how they can get. If you put a scenario,
focus primarily on winning the regular season.
Yeah, it's either winning it outright or getting a share, and that's kind of what I went over every team scenario, including Utah State, which theirs is incredibly simple. It's super easy to figure out. 2-0, outright or a share, depending on what Boise State does. 1-1, as long as Boise State doesn't go 2-0, you get a share. I don't think there's an outright scenario if Utah State goes 1-1. I might have to double check that, but Utah State's conference title scenarios are incredibly simple. Everyone else's get a little more complicated, especially the further down you go.
But let's focus though on what happened Friday night for a moment. Utah State and Air Force in the Spectrum, and a physical game. I mean, there was blood spilt to win this conference game in the Spectrum Friday night.
Yeah, it was like 4 different people spilling blood in some form or fashion. Great Osobor, he spilled most. Apparently, he had a puddle on the floor. Mason Falsev took a shot to the nose. He was bleeding out of his nose for a minute. I think Ian Martinez as well, or I don't know if it's his head or his nose. Apparently, he was bleeding for a second. And then Danny Sprinkle, his was more self-inflicted. He kind of joked afterwards, like, yeah, he broke a clipboard. He was trying to get a point across. So apparently he snapped a clipboard and cut himself with it, which someone needs to get that man like a stress ball or a pad, because the amount of times that he's smacked the scorer's table, like that's his given frustration of choice.
It gets the brunt of his frustration.
I think Ryan Odoms was stomping. It was either him or Craig Smith would stomp. Like, everyone has their I'm mad at my players and I have to take it out somehow. Some of them stomp. Danny Sprinkle tries to kill the scorer's table. But yeah,
Odom didn't get too animated.
Yeah, he never got too mad, but there were times, Craig Smith has kind of had a similar demeanor to, I don't know if he ever got as hot as Danny Sprinkle, but he'd get upset. Because, coaches are going to do that.
Right.
You got to get a point across, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah, but despite the blood being spilled, this was a game that we've been asking, or not really asking for, but wondering when Ian Martinez would reemerge. And this was the game where he came onto the scene once again. He found himself and was very active very early on in the offense, and kind of throwing off whatever it was that was weighing him down for the last couple of weeks in conference play for Utah State, and led the team with 21 points, very active, basically tying in team rebounds, and just very active also on defense too, and just playing a very, very solid game for USU, and they needed him to. They've been looking for him to have that kind of a game, and it finally arrived.
Yeah, in a game where Great Osport is not scoring a whole lot, I think he had 6 total points the entire night. Obviously took an extended break, obviously going back, getting his head stitched up, literally. It was nice to have Ian Martinez out there. Like, he had 14 first-half points, where I think Osport only had like 2 or 4 first-half points at all. So Ian Martinez allowing the Aggies to stay in control. And then when Osobor was out, all 7 of Ian Martinez's points in the second half came with Osobor out. It's like, and like he didn't score all the points. I think the Aggies scored like somewhere between like 7 and 14, or I didn't calculate that, but he scored a lot of the points during that break, where the Aggies actually increased their lead after Osborne went out. They were up by like 7, and when he went out, when Osborne came back in, the Aggies were up by 11. Ian Martinez was part of that. He wasn't the sole driving piece of that, but he was a big part of that. Scoring those points, being the guy that they can get scoring from, because that's what they need. You need a guy out there who can just go get a bucket. You know, and on that night, it was Ian Martinez. It's been Darius Brown on a lot of nights.
Yeah.
But you had Ian Martinez doing that. And you mentioned his defense and rebounding. That's been there for a while. But obviously, when you add scoring to it, he just becomes, you know, not just a good player, but like the best player on the floor.
Yeah, right. And I didn't mean to insinuate that he has been a total disappearing act for the last couple of weeks, because he has had impact on the floor, just not quite as much on the offensive side.
Yeah, and so what we saw is like the whole package
Right.
of Ian Martinez, combining what he's brought on the defensive end. He got a couple of steals, 2 or 3 steals, got some rebounds. Obviously, you know, playing the role of pest on defense, you know, point of attack defender at times. So you got the whole package out of Ian Martinez. And you also got decent games out of most everybody who stepped on the floor. I don't know if there was a player who had a bad game. Like even Osibor didn't score a lot, but he had like 4 blocks, decent amount of rebounds, you know, played his part fairly well. So, I mean, it wasn't a blowout, but I can't really say the Aggies played a bad game. They controlled the game the entire night, and after the first like initial run, you know, I think when the Aggies got up by like double digits, the Air Force never got within 7 the rest of the game. Like the Aggies were pretty much never in danger of losing this game. So it had a decidedly different flavor than the Wyoming and especially the Fresno State games, where those kind of got a little iffy at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the Aggies they actually did go up by 19 at one point. So like they did stretch the lead, but they never let Air Force really threaten them. They just didn't put up the kind of numbers that the net wants to see to, you know, increase your ranking. You only win by 12 against a team you were probably favored to beat by, you know, between 15 and 20. I forget what the margin was supposed to be. It was somewhere around 18, I think.
Yeah, and just even looking up and down the team and looking at the box score, you talked about everybody who stepped on the court, like contributed and played significant minutes. Even Isaac Johnson, he's only on the floor for 3 minutes. But in those 3 minutes, he pulls down 3 rebounds and gets to the free throw line and knocks down a free throw.
Yeah, I don't think he was actually expected to play, because like that, it's been kind of a matchup thing, because he played 1 minute against Air Force in the first matchup, didn't start that game, unlike just about every other game this season. And you know, he wasn't playing. Khalifa Sacco was playing the backup center minutes, but then Sacco, you know, needed a spell on the bench, and Osibor was in the locker room, so Johnson had to come out and did Isaac Johnson things, get rebounds, and you know, be a bit of a pest on offense with his, you know, unique skill set. But I'll be honest, probably my favorite performance was Mason Falslev. Particularly defensively, he had to guard Rydas Petritis. How do you say his name?
Rydas Petritis.
Rydas Petritis. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, Petritis, he's a 6'7" wing. Like, he's kind of that tricky, like, combination guard and post player where he can get into the post and he's got a post game. Mason Falslev's given up 4 inches in that matchup, and you know, probably 10 or so pounds, but he was going toe to toe with Rydas, and you know, he hit some tough shots in that first half, and I was commenting about it on social media, like, it's an interesting matchup. Like, Mason's giving up some shots, but he's guarding him tough. And then in the second half, I think he made like 2 shots, like 2 out of 10. So Mason Falslev, for the most part, was guarding Petritis. And Petritis ended up with like 14 points, but it was on an incredibly inefficient shooting night. Had a couple turnovers as well. So Mason was kind of guarding out of his element, so to speak, or at least what I would assume was out of his element, but he didn't look out of his element at all, guarding a guy largely in the post, whereas he's more of a perimeter player. Yeah,
that's true. And Petritis can shoot from outside too, but he was 0 for 4 from beyond the arc.
But he was looking at Mason saying, oh, you're 6'3", I'm 6'7", I'm going to take you in the post, and I'm going to score every time. And in the first half, it kind of looked that way. He still only went like 5 of 9. And some of those misses were against Falslev, but there were other times where just he rises up, puts a hook shot over him, and Mason can't block it. He just has to keep him out of post position. but Mason kept it up, and Ridas stopped hitting those good shots. So I really feel like Mason deserved a lot of credit for the job he did. Guarding, he was assigned to guard Air Force's leading scorer. It wasn't Darius Brown, it wasn't Ian Martinez, it was freshman Mason Falslev who said, you are going to guard the guy who scores the most points for these guys and who is their most versatile player.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's been other times when other players have scored more than Petrides, but he is the most versatile player that they have on their roster.
Yeah, I think he had a triple-double earlier this year.
Yeah, right.
So this
and he hit the game winner down in New Mexico.
Yeah. So he is a very good player, and Mason did a fantastic job.
At 10 points to go along with 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. Yeah, very balanced performance for Mason Falslev.
Yeah, very solid. Just basically everything he did. It wasn't, superstar levels of production in any one area, but like you go back and you watch that film and you watch his offense and rebounding and especially that defense, he had one of the better. Like if you were grading every player on their individual performance, Mason might have gotten the highest grade.
Let's go to the Full Court Press text line. A couple of texts that came in over the weekend. And we have some that have come in since we've been on the show here. But let's start with the ones that came in over the weekend. 8968 sent this in on Saturday. I believe the Aggies could finish, like you said, and still be an 11 or 12 seed. On the other hand, BYU could finish worse and be a 3 seed. Politics, anyone?
Was this in reference to the post-game show?
Yeah, I don't understand what that's in reference to, like we said. I don't see how Utah State could finish and be an 11 or a 12 seed.
Yeah, well, I
unless
imagine
they struggle.
Yeah,
and they lose against New Mexico, and then they struggle in the Mountain West Conference tournament. They'd have to lose at San Jose, lose against New Mexico, and then be embarrassed in the first round of the conference tournament. I believe to fall that far to get an 11 or a 12 seed.
Yeah, which that could happen. That's in the realm of possibility. But as far as BYU, they jumped into the top 25. Of course, they beat Kansas, and then they rallied against TCU. So.
Yeah. They've beaten, 4 or 5 top 25 teams?
Yeah.
And they're in the Big 12?
BYU's earned their keep in the tournament.
Yeah, they're very strong net ranking. So politics doesn't have anything to do with it. 0298 texted in over the weekend at Saturday's game between San Jose and UNLV. The announcer said San Jose had 2 or 3 players out. Do you have any updates on whether they will be short these players when we play them this week?
I actually saw the same thing, and I should have looked this up before this game. I haven't really dove into my San Jose State preview, but I had heard they were shorthanded some guys.
I watched part of that broadcast. It was a guard that was out, one of their main guards. But I don't know. I didn't catch the extent of his injury and how long he would be out. So we'll get into that a little bit more tomorrow and Wednesday when we do more prep for San Jose. 9315 texting in. This came in before the show today. Well, a couple of texts before the show.
3 texts before the show.
They're lengthy, so hang with us. Friday night, Logan, Utah turned into Fighter Town, USA with a dogfight in the highway to the danger zone. Utah State finished the game Top Gun of the day. We're going to see how many puns we can work in here.
Yeah, how many song titles did you put in?
The Herd really had missile lock most of the game on Petrides, really getting in his head. A lot of the game looked like the Aggies playing them in football. I was on row 1 watching the game Friday, so I've seen all the action up close. That's where I saw chop blocks, or the basketball equivalent, felt like the most physical game of the year. And then why does Great on TV not look as big as he really is when you see him up close and in person? Also, when you're on row 1 under the basket, you realize that Great is in pretty good shape for his body type. I can also see at times why Great could be getting gassed with how physical he plays. Also, he had to fight off 2 to 3 players on offense with how much they double and triple him and try to stop him, and had me gassed just watching, and I was just a ticket-paying fan. Also, sorry, let me rephrase that. I am a proud alumni of Utah State. And then finally, is dropping in the net for the Aggies payback to the other teams last year that we beat and knocked them out of Q1 status? Crying emoji. Laughing crying emoji.
Yeah, maybe the Aggies have taken themselves out of Q1 territory for a couple of teams that beat the Aggies at home this year. Yeah, I mean, I guess on a few of the things, I don't know if it was the most physical game that I've at least seen in person for the Aggies. That would have probably been the San Diego State game, or really both San Diego State games. They got out physicaled by Nevada, and then matched most of the physicality of Boise State. But yeah, it was certainly physical in at least one way. I mean, you had 3 players get bloodied, on some of them being questionable plays by, I think it was like the one player who bloodied him up each time. So a little suspicious. But especially the one on Grant, like that was a stupid play. The guy literally like reached out to grab Osibor to keep him from getting by him. The other one's like, it's kind of a bang-bang play. And I didn't really go back to watch the replays of either of those, but yeah, interesting physicality. But as far as Great Osibor, being bigger in person, that goes for like literally any of these basketball players. Like you see them from the stands, like, and even especially on TV, and it's like they kind of look, they look like normal people. And then you get up next to them, like, oh yeah, you're like 6'8".
Yeah, and then you watch them banging the low post, and yeah, it's not an easy job.
But yeah, once you get down to like front row, floor level, like that's when you realize when you're walking by them or standing next to them, like, yeah, you're a very tall individual. It's very hard to see that on TV because they just look like normal people walking around.
Right.
Because when everyone else around you is, also 6'9", 6'10", like there's no disproportion. It's just, they're all people.
Let's see, 1279 texting in. The most that can tie for first is 3 teams due to them playing each other. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the exact time, like how many can share the share of the Mountain West.
Yeah, but a lot of the top teams are playing each other this week.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be some separation, though still that possibility remains. There could be some bit of a round robin happening. Yeah,
but I think I was saying there's maybe potentially searching out for like if there's a way for a 4 or 5 way tie. That may be it where I didn't try to calculate it, but since 4 of the top 5 teams that are all within a game of each other play like literally like Nevada plays like I think Boise State and San Diego State, and like Boise's playing Nevada and San Diego State. It's like they're all playing each other like 2 of the other top 4. So that kind of creates this mess where like it's probably impossible for there to be more than a 3-way tie.
Yeah, on Tuesday, San Diego State is at UNLV. Both of those teams are 11-5. Also Tuesday, Nevada at Boise State. Nevada's 11-5. Boise State's 12-4.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like when I was calculating the scenarios, like mathematically, if Utah State went 0-2, like if Boise State also went 0-2 and none of the other 3 teams went better than 1-1, that theoretically works. But that can't physically happen because of who's playing who. There's no way for that scenario to work out record-wise. And actually, the same goes for Boise State. So if either Boise State or Utah State go 0-2, they lose their chance on a share of the title.
Right. Yeah, somebody else will be standing on top.
So even though that would work mathematically, like you could do that and records would match, it's not possible for it to actually happen.
All right, we're going to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. Love the conversation to continue and get your thoughts and reactions to Utah State's win on Friday night in the Spectrum over Air Force and the latest standings in the Mountain West Conference, the latest net rankings in the final week of the regular season, and where does Utah State or other Mountain West teams stand in the latest polls that are out today. We'll update you on all that coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. I'd like to invite you to learn more about us. Since 1997, we've been Utah's premier one-stop shop for home medical equipment. What sets us apart at Alpine Home Medical is the superior level of customer service. We provide home oxygen, CPAPs, wheelchairs, scooters, breast pumps, and so much more. Come on down and get to know us.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit alpinehomemedical.com.
Many Aggie fans like to go to the game, some fans love to yell at the TV, and all fans like to wear a shirt or a jacket with their favorite team's logo. Aggie fans find the best selection of USU logoed apparel at Locker 42. Find yourself an Aggie t-shirt for $10. Locker 42 features Aggie logoed hoodies, jackets, and golf shirts, and a hat wall with over 40 styles. Women's specific apparel, youth sizes for the junior Aggie, and toddler and infant Aggie items as well. Locker 42 is a store for Utah State fans by Utah State fans, and proud to be part of Aggie Nation.
Your search for copiers and printers should include Les Olson IT. There you'll find sharp copiers with powerful technology giving you one-click scanning your office software programs. You'll find reliable HP printers that help your work groups get more done. And you'll find Ricoh graphic systems for professional quality prints. You'll find local supply delivery and peace of mind knowing you're covered by the best service in the industry.
Les Olson IT.
Elements has delicious lunch specials. Soup, salad, and bread for just $10 is tasty and quick. Elements lunch menu is full of scrumptious items. Wood-fired pizzas are an excellent choice that include barbecued chicken and the bee's knees. The fresh battered halibut fish and chips with seasoned fries is always a hit. And don't forget the fan favorite, Chipotle fried chicken sandwich. Thursdays, enjoy Elements house-made smoked brisket, casual or professional. Open Monday through Thursday, 11:30 to 8 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11:30 to 9. Visit theelementsrestaurant.com for reservations.
Attention artisan eyewear fans. Crystal Vision is gearing up for their annual trip in search of 2024's latest eyeglass frames. To prep, their shelves will be undergoing a major transformation to make way for the new and upcoming styles. Crystal Vision is offering 50% off select current styles of handcrafted eyeglasses through February. Don't miss your chance to be fit by their expert opticians with one-of-a-kind artisan eyewear at a fraction of the price. Craftsmanship, detail, and savings. It's all waiting for you at Crystal Vision on 14th North or crystalvision.com.
The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker. No real big surprises over the weekend in Mountain West Conference play. Well, maybe that Boise State got past New Mexico with the margin that they did.
Yeah.
I expected that game to be closer than it was.
It was decently close where Boise State generally had control. I think New Mexico took the lead maybe a couple times in the first half. I don't know if they had the lead in the second half. I was watching it for the most part, and then Boise State kind of edged out to a bit of a lead in the middle of the second half, and then just it kind of ballooned at the end as New Mexico kind of hit desperation mode, and Boise State just started hitting shots. And New Mexico had absolutely no answer. So, yeah, it ended up being, what was the final margin? Like
89-79,
yeah,
so 10 points.
Okay, I actually thought it was large. I remember it being larger than that. I thought it was like 14 or 15 points. But, yeah, very, very comfortable win for Boise State in the end. So, not terribly unexpected. Boise State plays well at home. New Mexico has not played very well on the road in a lot of cases. So I wasn't too surprised by that, but I thought it was certainly possible New Mexico could play well. But I think for me, it kind of legitimizes what Boise State's been doing the last 5 games now.
Yeah.
Where they were ripping through teams at the bottom of the standings. Like, okay, congratulations, you beat teams at the bottom of the standings. It was better than what Utah State was doing, which was having, mediocre performances against bottom teams. Boise State was having their best games of the year. But then they, transitioned that into beating one of the top 7 teams, which they hadn't actually done since beating New Mexico State the previous time. It'd been basically a month. Their January 31st win over New Mexico was their last quality win. Their last 2 quality games were losses to Colorado State and Utah State.
Nevada took care of Fresno State 74-66 on Friday. That was the other Friday game. Colorado State beating Wyoming 70-62, UNLV beating San Jose 68-50. So nothing really earth-shattering.
Yeah.
The Boise State New Mexico game was certainly the game of the weekend. When you look at what was on the line in all these different games, and the teams that we would have expected to win did win with the schedules over the weekend. So when you look at the standings in the Mountain West Conference currently, yeah, as we've mentioned, Utah State and Boise State still tied at 12-4. Nevada, San Diego State, and UNLV all at 11-5, and then there's a gap. New Mexico is now 9-7, so they're 3 games behind the Aggies. Colorado State is 9-8, 3.5 games behind Utah State. Then there's another gap when you have Wyoming and Fresno, Air Force, and San Jose. But it's still, that top 7 is still very close. But UNLV still not really getting national recognition for brackets that are out there. You have to consider their full body of work, but they're still kind of a dangerous team coming into the tail end of the season and into the conference tournament.
Yeah, you look at 6 of the top 7 teams in the Mountain West in the standings are all receiving votes in the AP poll. San Diego State is ranked 21st. Utah State is ranked 22nd. Nevada just outside at 26, and you got Boise State 28, New Mexico 33, and Colorado State 37. Yeah, UNLV kind of the odd man out there, not getting any votes in the poll, and they won't be.
No.
They're 18-10 on the year. They have been very impressive in conference play, but their non-conference schedule kind of threw them out of consideration. And for the most part, I don't see them getting any love for, bracketology. They briefly popped up on Bracket Matrix, but that was because somebody picked them to win the Mountain West tournament. They weren't getting in as an at-large, though. This team's hot right now. I mean, UNLV's they've won 9 of 10, I think.
You're right. Yes,
including some solid wins over teams in the top 7. So UNLV's proved that they are a legitimate threat to win the conference tournament, which would certainly give them a bid to the tournament that way. May end up knocking somebody else out, like New Mexico potentially.
Yeah, this week. They are hosting San Diego State on Tuesday, then they're at Nevada, rivalry game on Saturday.
Yeah. So it's going to be a rough finish for a lot of these teams. Utah State definitely has the easiest road out of pretty much all these teams. And of course, UNLV, I think they have one of the longest shots for they still have a chance, or if they go 2-0 and Utah State and Boise State both go, I think 0-2. I think in Nevada and San Diego State would each have to go 1-1. There's a 0.3% chance, based on one metric I saw, that UNLV wins the outright title.
9315. I'll just read it as it was sent in. I'm not sure I understand it, but I'll just read it as it was presented. I hear at a coach lunch, the rumor was discussed and shot full of hole. I knew all along it was unfounded.
So this is in reference to the Jeff Goodman tweet saying that Danny Sprinkle is the front runner for the not yet open position of Washington basketball coach. They still have a head coach there, full-time hired, but is very much kind of looking on his
the
way
hot
out.
seat.
And mind you, Jeff Goodman was here in Logan.
Yes.
And I can't imagine he didn't talk to Danny Sprinkle at any point. So, I know he did because he interviewed him at least once. But I imagine he probably
went to breakfast with him.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's unfounded. There was a coach's luncheon today, and apparently Danny Sprinkle denied the rumor. I don't know how vehemently he denied it. I can promise he will be asked about it in the coming days. We will be at practice, and he will be asked about it.
What program wouldn't be looking at Danny Sprinkle?
Ones that already have a head coach.
Well, power conferences with openings, who wouldn't look at Danny Sprinkle or consider moving off of their current coach to go get Danny Sprinkle?
Yeah, and here's the thing. Danny Sprinkle, the way he's performing, he will at some point get bought out by another team, unless he just completely falls off. And my position earlier was that I thought it was a very small chance. I see it as a decent chance that he does go one and done. I know there's people that look at, there's a $3 million buyout to take Danny Sprinkle away from Utah State. These Power 6 teams, they can pay that if they want to. So for me, my thought was nobody's going to pay $3 million just so they can then have the right to pay Danny Sprinkle $4 million a year over 4 or 5 years. I don't know how many teams are willing to do that. But if somebody is, then my logic goes out the window. It's like, that was my position. I didn't think anybody would do that. But if somebody is, and they have the money to do that, well, then it's just up to Danny Sprinkle. At that point, does he want to have another year where he's probably going to have to rebuild a roster from scratch? Because that's likely what's going to happen. We're seeing that when coaches move and coaches get fired, most of your roster, like 8, 9, 10 players are gone. Maybe not to the extreme where it was like the Aggies lost like 14, but 10 is almost like the minimum.
Yeah. Does he want to? He did that once, but how often does he want to do that again?
Yeah, and does he think that with next year if he stays around, most of this team sticks around. He's got a pretty good team for next year.
Right. He has a path to be in the top 25. He has a path to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
He has a path of having a great home crowd and great fan support, staying here in the Mountain West in Logan, Utah.
Yeah.
But does he have a path to have millions and millions of dollars in his bank account?
Yeah. Well, and I think also just as importantly, does he feel like he has the resources to keep doing what he's doing? Because a big draw for coaches is now, it's not just going to be, the money in his own bank account. It's the money to keep assistants. It's the money in NIL.
What's your collective?
Yeah.
Right.
It's money for, quality travel. It's money for a lot of different things that will help him get athletes here and keep them wherever he's at. Because, if you put a paycheck in his pocket, that's nice, but in order for him to keep getting that paycheck, he has to have the resources to recruit and keep the program up. If he doesn't feel like he has that at Utah State, which, he got the job done this year, but can he keep doing it?
Yeah, but honestly, the problems are the same, just the dollar figures are different. So it's just what's your level of
Yeah, but if he goes to Washington, he's not really getting picked off by too many people. Like, he lost his, when he moved, comes to Utah State, he wants to bring, I suddenly forgot his name. His leading scorer last year at Montana State. This is the shooting guard. I forget. He went to West Virginia. I suddenly can't remember his name. He wanted to bring him here, but he got offered, hundreds of thousands of dollars to go play at West Virginia. There's nothing he could do. If he goes to a place like Washington, he doesn't have to worry about that. Like, sure, he's competing, but then he could offer that money, and if he's able to offer that money, he already has a relationship. He could get those guys to come.
Theoretically.
But then theoretically, so he's not at the complete disadvantage that he is at Utah State. He can still get the job done here at Utah State. He's we've seen the guys he's bringing in recruiting wise. We saw the transfers he brought in. But it becomes infinitely easier, theoretically, at a place like Washington, where you're mostly at the top of the food chain.
But you're still going to have guys go from a place like Washington to even a higher blue chip program.
They could, but if you have a guy who's capable of if he's good enough to want to leave Washington, he's probably just going to go to the NBA. Like I said, is Washington at the top of the food chain? No. But they're close enough for it to not really matter that much.
That is true.
North Carolina's not going to Washington trying to pick off all their best players to move up to North Carolina. Because if a Washington player is that bent on moving up, they're moving to the NBA because they're that good. And if they're transferring away, then it's not necessarily because they want to move up. It's just because they want to change the scenery.
0366 texting in, and Coach Sprinkle will take all of our talent on the floor with him.
Yeah, if he leaves, the Aggies are probably losing Great Osborne. They're probably losing. I don't know
what Odom did when he left.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how many players would leave, but a good chunk of them would leave. You'd be at risk. You'd be at risk of losing some of the recruits he's bringing in. Guys like Case Wynot, Terrence Hill. It just depends how connected those guys are to Danny Sprinkle.
5452 texting in, maybe just wishful thinking, but he has talked and embraced the tradition here, bringing in previous players before the season, etc. Talked about it being a dream to coach in the Spectrum, but money talks.
Craig Smith said all the exact same stuff. All of the exact same stuff, and he was gone in the blink of an eye.
Right, because there was an opportunity to also be at a tradition-rich institution, but also had more resources.
Yeah. Well, they'll talk about the tradition anywhere. Danny Sprinkle will go to Washington, talk about the tradition. Coaches will lean into that, and they can be completely honest. I don't think Craig Smith was lying. And I don't think Danny Sprinkle is lying. But that doesn't keep them at a program by itself. It helps. It's nice. But when you think of practical terms, the ability to build a program and the ability to get paid, there are things that will attract a coach away.
0366, college athletics is so jacked up.
It is.
Yes.
It completely is.
It's messed up.
And to say all this, it's not a done deal that Danny Sprinkle is gone.
No.
But there is obviously a chance. And Washington, I don't think is going to be the only suitor.
No, heavens.
Or at least the only team
the season
that
he's put together, there's going to be a lot of suitors. A lot of people, they'd be dumb not to.
Yeah.
To reach out and at least make a play to see if he'd be interested.
Yeah. But if the Aggies can pony up a long-term contract, and if teams look at it but decide they don't want to pay, like $7 million, like right off the bat, to get Danny Sprinkle, then that may keep him here for another year. But of course, if there's a second year where Danny Sprinkle does this again, yeah, he's gone after that, guaranteed.
All right, another time out here in the Full Court Press. Love to continue to get your thoughts and reactions to the weekend that was. Big wins for Utah State, staying on top of the Mountain West Conference standings. Looking at the rest of the conference, the rankings that are out, the AP and coaches polls, those updates, and other kind of landscape of the Mountain West Conference, looking into the final week of the regular season. Coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Winter is the perfect time to let the Allergy Clinic help with venom testing for next spring and summer. Test now and begin treatments to help with life-threatening stings from honeybees, yellow jackets, white-faced hornets, yellow hornets, and wasps. The Allergy Clinic has helped thousands of people enjoy the outdoors worry-free. The Allergy Clinic in 2 locations, North Logan and Providence, accepts most insurance, including SelectMed. Call the Allergy Clinic at 753-7880. That's 753-7880.
Security. It's the most precious thing you can give your home, especially if it's guaranteed. No cheap locks, no weak keys, no inadequate hardware, just the expertise and precision and security. Beezer Lock and Key believes there's no place like a safe home, and no home safer than one secured by them. It may seem they only sell locks and keys, but what they really sell is peace of mind. Search Beezer Lock and Key or go to 4th North and 1st West and just add confidence.
Nearly 21 years ago, Cafe Sabor opened their doors in historic Logan train station. With the help of hundreds of amazing employees and patronage of thousands of wonderful customers, Cafe Sabor is proud to have been voted 3 years in a row Cache Valley's favorite Mexican restaurant in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Follow Cafe Sabor on social media for giveaways and promotions. Search Cafe Sabor for a restaurant near you. Thank you, Cache Valley, from your friends at Cafe Sabor.
Are you getting overwhelmed by decisions regarding Social Security? Adams Wealth Advisors is here to help you secure your financial future by helping you navigate the complexities of the Social Security system. The team of experts at Adams Wealth Advisors is ready to guide you through the process and tailor a custom financial plan that fits your goals and aspirations. With Adams Wealth Advisors, it's not just about managing your wealth, it's about empowering your future. Call 752-1702 or search online for Adams Wealth Advisors to schedule an appointment with a Social Security expert today.
This is Nate Lamson with Valley Office Systems, your home team when local matters. Valley Office Systems is your local provider for all things office, copiers, printers, furniture, and document management. Proudly serving Cache Valley since 2007. Visit valleyofficesystems.com.
More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio for their news, weather, sports, and a community connection. It's the backbone of the emergency alert system. It's critical that we keep AM radio in cars, because when cell and internet services are down, this free emergency service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Talking the sports you care about. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. By the way, I did see this. We talked about this at the tail end of last week. The Blue A Collective issued a statement. Gary Anderson is no longer formally involved with the Blue A Collective, as he has moved on and taken job as an analyst, defensive analyst, but very appreciative of his work and his relationship with Utah State. So it was one thing that was discussed a little bit on this show the other day.
Yeah, because he was at BYU. Obviously, that's where he's taking the job. It's like, obviously has a tie to Utah State, but obviously has a passion for being involved in football, and BYU has given him the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, so a little bit of a conflict of interest. So he's moving on from his formal involvement with the Blue A Collective.
And I don't know what would he even be doing. I guess, I mean, for him, he'd be part of fundraising.
Yeah.
That'd be his main option.
Just trying to make connections.
But
9315 texting in, the one thing about this is there is ride for the brand type coach that like winning over money, but it's not the highest of percent. Also, how much money was pointed up for Odom? I thought they got as high as $1.5 million a year. I just think he wanted to be back east, so nothing could have kept him long term.
Yeah, I had heard that they were offering. I don't know if I can't remember if I ever heard a specific number from anyone, at least that I knew, who might actually know. But that's the kind of number they're going to have to look at, like, you know, 1.5 million a year, maybe even 2 million a year. Like you're looking at, you know, 10-year contract type thing to be thrown at Danny Sprinkle. Say, hey, look, you can sign a 3-4 year deal for $4 million and get $12 million there, or you can get $15 million from us over 10 years. And that's what you can throw at them. Like some of the names that, you know, Utah State was maybe looking at poaching from lower mid-major teams. Those guys signed 10-year contracts for less money than, you know, less per year than what they would have made here at Utah State. But that guarantee of money, like Craig Smith's probably not going to play out the rest of it, or at least make much money beyond what he's getting at Utah.
Who knows? I mean, he's improved that team every year, and they're on the verge of being a tournament team this year.
No, they're not.
They are projected in some fields.
No, they're not making the tournament.
They could make the tournament.
I mean, they could. That is literally everyone in Division I can still make the tournament.
Well, yes, but their net ranking is strong. They're playing.
Yeah, he's not doing bad.
Decent basketball now. I mean, if it's not this year, they'll likely get there next year.
Yeah. Utah?
No, they'll be in a tougher conference next year.
They'll be in a tougher conference and are losing like their best player.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's going to get rough for Craig Smith. But, you know, if you're a coach and you see that guarantee and, like, you know, if you get fired, then you get the rest of that money no matter what. It's like that's basically the one thing the Aggies potentially have in their pocket if they're willing to use it. So it can sort of match the money in a way. But obviously, if you stayed, you know, 10 years at a Power 5 school, you get more money. But that's if you assume you're going to stick around at a Power 5 school, which a lot of these coaches don't. They don't stick around because it's tough to stick around anywhere, really.
Right. The net rankings update for the Mountain West on Monday. San Diego State is at 19. They remain the highest ranked team in the Mountain West Conference. Boise State continues its climb upward, and they are at 24 in the rankings now. New Mexico is at 28, Colorado State 34, Utah State at 36. Aggies have been on a slow march in the wrong direction, even though they keep winning. Nevada at 40. So those are your top 6 teams in the rankings. And then UNLV at 82.
Yeah, UNLV stalling for a moment. They've been on a kind of a similar meteoric rise to Boise State, not to the same heights, obviously, but, you know, winning 9 out of 10 will help you there. But yeah, I mean, I have my average computer ranks that I put together in Boise State. They're like right on the verge of jumping into the top 2 in these average ranks. You can find them on my Mountain West Watch article. They haven't been in the top 2 all year. And they're like right with New Mexico, who's slowly falling down over and over and over. They keep dropping important games and obviously falling to 6th in the standings.
Yeah, it hasn't helped Utah State that you know, they played the team ranked 213th and then 269th, and then they're going to play the team ranked 241st.
Yeah.
This week. So
they're probably not going to jump above 35th unless they beat San Jose State by like 30 points. They're not gonna jump very far. But I mean,
they'll need to win by a wide margin, and in both of their games.
Yeah,
not so much on Saturday as they will on Wednesday, but they'll still need to win both games decisively.
Yeah, they beat New Mexico, they'll move up. If they beat San Jose State by a lot, they'll move up. If they beat both of them, they won't drop any further than they are now. And obviously, we'll have clinched at least a share of the Mountain West title.
Yeah. So that's the latest in the latest rankings that are out there for Mountain West Conference schools. Another quick timeout. When we come back, some additional thoughts about the Mountain West. Reminder about Coach Danny Sprinkle. You can hear his thoughts later on tonight if there's a coach's show taking place on our sister station. Details next here on the Full Court Press.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. Life is good. Life at My Mattress is good too. Why might I say that? Because today is a good day to slay a Goliath. The other day I went into a mattress store here in Logan that has 2,500 stores across the country. I'd say that's a Goliath. We were 20% less expensive on every bed that we both offer. We may not have 2,500 stores, but we are number one in Cache Valley. Better product and better prices. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006. Rely now on a York Affinity Premium Comfort System to keep your home cool and comfortable. The new Affinity systems are smarter and more connected and more efficient than ever before, and you can cut your energy costs by as much as 50%. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer, to schedule a free system evaluation. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning showroom is west of DI and online at advancedheating-ac.com.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
It doesn't matter who you root for. The Full Court Press has all the high school sports covered. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
What's going on now continues through the 15th. It's the Napa Gold Filter Sale. 5 quarts of Napa Premium Synthetic and a Napa Gold filter for less than $30. And what filter do you need? Air, cabin air, engine oil, whatever it is, it's on sale. Now up to 60% off. Napa Auto Parts, 5 different locations between Preston and Providence. Danny Sprinkle, he'll be speaking to the public later on this evening. Coach's show can be heard at 6 o'clock on our sister station, KVNU. 6 o'clock, 102.1 FM, 610 AM. And, hear what he has to say as the Aggies prepare for their final week of the regular season. I don't think Scott Gerard certainly won't ask him about coaching rumors. I don't know if anybody there can ask questions or if they will ask him that question. I'm sure he's going to be focused on what did they do against Air Force? What do they need to do against San Jose?
Yeah, that's what he's always focused about, and he'll deflect those rumors, and he'll go into coach speak about being focused on being here and focused on San Jose State. And he is, because like a lot of this stuff happens behind the scene where, Danny Sprinkle has an agent, so they're taking care of that kind of stuff. Danny Sprinkle would know if that kind of conversation is happening, but his focus is somewhere else. But the fact of the matter is, these rumors are out there, and he's going to have to address them.
Yeah.
Just how it is. And he'll deny, he will deny them. Like, he's going to get asked. Apparently already been asked at luncheon, will get asked again, and he's going to deny it, and that denial doesn't really mean anything, unfortunately, because he can deny it till the cows come home and still end up going, Craig Smith denied that he was down in Salt Lake,
even to his own AD.
Yeah, he was lying through his teeth about job opportunities.
Yes.
Behind the scenes, not even to the media. So, but that's the nature of the beast. They have to deny it. They will. But we go on.
Hey, something else to chew on here as we close out the hour. Wins away from home. Saw this by Jeff Grammer, who follows New Mexico. So this would include road wins or neutral site wins. Utah State has more than anybody in the Mountain West. They have 11 wins away from the Spectrum. 7 road wins, 4 neutral site wins. This has been a great basketball team. They need to get to one more, at least, road win to keep themselves in the driver's seat for at least a share of the regular season title for the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah, the Aggies have been a very solid team overall, and teams that are very solid overall, they also win on the road. And it's why the Aggies are in the position they are, is because they've won games away from home, especially in the Mountain West.
Yeah, so a lot more on that. Could the financial future of the Mountain West be disrupted? We'll discuss that a little bit. Next hour is these NCAA units. The financial share of those units could be changing and could be up for discussion and debate coming up as early as this summer. We'll discuss that. Utah Jazz in action tonight as well. It's all coming up next hour here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, and streaming on 1069thefan.com and the 1069 The Fan mobile
I'm Dan
app.
Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. Caitlin Clark has become the darling of college basketball. The game's all-time leading scorer confirmed she will not return to Iowa as she intends to enter the WNBA draft. Over the years, elite-level WNBA talent who entered the draft has slowly drifted out of the spotlight, but that may not be the case for Clark. To start, she has a unique game that will no doubt demand attention at the next level. Look at the draw Sabrina Ionescu had at the All-Star Weekend this year. The potential landing spot at number 1 overall with the Indiana Fever may do her some favors as well. Despite their recent struggles, the Fever have a strong history. The team made 12 consecutive playoff appearances from 2005 to 2016, and Indiana recently able to acquire the Rookie of the Year, Aaliyah Boston, with the number 1 overall pick. That could give the Fever one of the brightest young cores in women's basketball. And with Clark and Boston's history of success, Caitlin Clark's story may only just be beginning. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.